share your screen, Femi? There we go.
Good evening, council members. The first item tonight is CU for 2023. The address is on Riverview Lane, road number 6150. The intent of this proposal is to allow a two-family dwelling on the subject property in the RR residential zone. This table shows more like a container use request table. It shows what the property is zoned to residential, and it shows what the client is requesting, two-family dwelling in the RR zone. And the next map shows the location of the subject site and the surrounding area. This is the site plan submitted by the applicant. It shows the extent of the building itself on the subject site. And this is the building plan, so also it shows both entrances to the two-family dwelling. For council's consideration, the intent of is to establish a two-family dwelling on an existing RR residential lot. The soil proposal is consistent with the DD general development policies in the development plan. Given that this is a two-family dwelling within a single structure, the proposed home will not be different from other existing homes on the street or in the area. Therefore, the subject proposal is compatible with the surrounding context with no land use conflict. There are no associated variances with the subject proposal at this time. This appeal has been circulated to the municipality and consultation with no concerns. RRPD recommends that the council wishes to approve this application. Two conditions have been proposed by RRPD. That completes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Femi. Any questions for the partner from members of council? Okay, is the applicant in the audience this evening? Did you have anything that you wanted to add to your application at this point in time?
No, we don't.
Okay. I do have a few people that do wish to speak, so I will just go down my list. Aaron and Navjit Sangha. That is you also, okay. There's two different names here, that's why I'm asking. So who are you, what is the correct name, I guess?
What do you have?
Well, I have, the first name I called was Lassie
Oh, yeah.
Gronley.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are the applicant?
Correct.
Do you have anything that you want to add?
No, nothing.
Okay,
Thank you.
and you are the property owners? And
Yes.
do you have anything that you want to add?
No.
Okay, as I said, there are a few people that do wish to speak, so I'm just going to go down my list here and we'll listen to everyone, and then at the end you will have an opportunity to answer any questions if there are questions, but not till the end of all the presentations. So the first name I have on my list is Rick Jensen. Did you want to come to the podium and speak, please? Thanks.
Thank you for the opportunity. There's three things I'd like to touch on this evening. In terms of the conditional use, we're supportive of it, providing it remains for immediate family use only in the basement suite and doesn't become a rental unit down the road. And if that were to happen, that it has to come back to council for a change. We like that to be a single family residential area. So we're in support of it as it's written in the letter. The second thing is it's not well understood the drainage system for Riverview Lane. And what's not well understood is that Church Road, the west end of Church Road, flows west, follows Henderson Highway south to the low point. And then all the land between Riverbeat and Corpus Christi Church drains to that low point, and then it goes on an angle across everybody's properties and right through their property. And because of that, it floods constantly across Riverby. So Riverby itself is too low in that corner area, and then the drainage doesn't work very well going under Riverby. So that particular item needs to be addressed, and I think before you know, the construction gets underway, there should be a decent drainage plan that addresses that, how it goes across that particular property under Riverby. And then the third thing is a small item, but the new sewer system in there, the maintenance access holes are right at the corner where Riverby comes down and either goes straight into our cul-de-sac or it goes south. There's a maintenance access hole that has no protection on it. There's no markers, and it's constantly being driven over by contractor trucks, flatbed semis that go through there, and delivery trucks, because there's no way for anybody to even know there's a cover there, plus the valve covers that I'm sure once we get using that system, we may have problems if it continues to be driven on. So I think Public Works needs to look at some kind of barriers. I've sent them notes in the past and I haven't got any response on that, so I'd like that to be looked at.
Okay, and I see that the map has been filled up here.
Yes.
So that's the property there.
So we're talking about drainage in the area and also that access point for the sewer system.
Yes, yes, the access point, if you move the cursor just up, right there, right on, a little bit further to the west, right on that V shape, it's right in that corner. And it used to have that white plastic pipe sticking up. It got knocked over years ago. I asked that something be done. We got a fiberglass pole that got knocked over again and disappeared. And now there's truck tracks that go constantly over top of that. And it just seems to me it's going to damage something underground.
Okay, anything
All right.
else you want to
Nope.
add? Okay,
That's
so from what you've said, you are in favor of providing that the secondary suite is for family members only,
Yes,
immediate family.
that's
Okay,
correct.
thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And I'm just going to go down the list here. Jose Andrade.
City Councilors. I am Joe Andretti. I live at 58 Riverby Lane, so I am very familiar. I'm going to pretty much echo the points that Rick made about this all. Also supportive, also would like to see some wording towards it being immediate family. Last thing I'd like to see is, or last thing I'd want to see is it start being Airbnb'd or rented out in the future. But I guess I'll start off by, hopefully welcoming the applicants to the neighborhood. I've also got three matters. First one would be just road traffic, right? If we're looking at densification in this neighborhood, like Rick pointed out, that corner there where that mouse is a big, big puddle of water. Probably for a month. Like I'm gonna have to drag my wife out of that corner there in the car. So it needs some work. I think Riverby itself needs some work, especially if we're starting to look at bringing in more traffic. I know Church last year, that road right across there, I mean, they already had a paved road. We don't have a paved road. It'd be nice to see something done, some sort of upgrades and work done there. So that would be my first point. Also in support, but just need to comment on the fact that our road needs some work. And I guess that comes to light just by the idea of densification in the neighborhood, having more traffic coming in, having, if it's two families, potentially 4 additional cars coming up and down, visitors, all that kind of stuff. So that'd be one of those considerations. Secondly, I do agree with Rick. We should be looking towards getting some sort of lot grading plan. Not only because of the road draining, the road flooding in that section, but also because where that water comes into their property cuts kind of weirdly in there. So a lot drainage plan just to ensure that the water that's coming away from their house properly goes in there and nothing's actually covered up, that's a little bit of a concern, but I think that can be addressed. It's just that we hate for mud and stuff to start being piled up where that water needs to make its way back out to the river. And finally, I would just say that, just that comment again with respect to that it'd be for their immediate family and that it revert back to council if that should ever change. I guess pursuant to section 106 1P of the Planning Act and the objections and policies of council, there are detrimental components to this if we don't address those concerns, and if we don't address the road, if we don't address that lot grading, there could be a potential issue for them and for other people where those drainage ditches are coming through, that the water could back up the road. And yeah, just want to ensure that the property is not used in a negative fashion, or to see a bunch of renters coming through our neighborhood and stuff like that.
Okay,
So, subject to any questions?
Questions, anyone?
That's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think the next gentleman is on Zoom, and that would be Kurt Reimer and Fran Edwards.
Hi, we're relatively new to the area here. We've only been here since the fall. I would support Rick Jensen's comments and echo them to the degree we can. We are concerned about the drainage, though we haven't witnessed it firsthand. And we'd also like assurances that, the property never be converted into a rental situation. Other than that, we would support the proposal as written.
Okay, Mr. Reimer, can you just give us your address, please?
Yeah, we're at 38 Riverview.
Thank you. Okay, was there anything else you wanted to add at this time?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Now, I know there are still a few people in the council chamber here. I have no other names on my list here, but I'm going to ask if there is anybody in the council chamber that did not let the office know that you were going to be here, if there was anybody that wanted to speak on this application. Okay, I am not seeing any hands go up. Questions from council to the planner? Do the applicants or the property owner have anything that they would like to add at this point in time after they've heard the few people that have spoken on the application?
No, we're good.
You're good? Okay. Okay, if council is ready to deal with the application, I guess I will ask for a resolution to close the public hearing, please.
So, Madam Mayor,
Yes.
before I close the public
Yeah.
hearing, did council want us to add those items in, or you'll ask after the closing?
Well, I think we can maybe have a little bit of discussion now. There were a couple of concerns brought up, and one of them being that if it does get approved by council, that it be only for immediate family and it not be a rental.
Can I just speak to?
Oh,
some
sure,
person?
go ahead, Femi, sorry.
So when we received the application, it was circulated to the RMC Public Works, and there wasn't any concerns. But as part of this application, if the applicant is moving forward to build a house, I think a lot grading permit is one of the requirements, which is standard on all. So I think that should take care of the drainage issue. In terms of tenancy, council does not really have any authority to regulate the tenancy. And what is before council this evening is just a two-family dwelling. So if it's approved, it's a two-family. It's not more like a basement unit or something. It's a two-family dwelling that is coming to rent.
So are you suggesting that if council wanted to put a condition on there that it not be a rental, that we couldn't do that?
I mean, because what is before council now is a two-family dwelling, separate units. So it's counterproductive if we put the condition saying that it cannot be rented out. It's more like somebody having a two-family unit, and you say that you cannot rent this or that. So it's kind of different. This is not a basement unit. It's a two-family dwelling, separate unit that is before council. But the problem here is that in this particular zoning district, two families are conditional use it. That is why it's before council tonight.
Since it's a conditional use, then the council is allowed to put conditions on conditional use.
Yes, but not on the tenancy in terms of who should stay there or should not stay there.
Councillor Spencer, you had your hand up, I believe.
I think the CAO just asked my question.
Oh,
If you put a condition that it should be for only families, more like regulating their tenure, which is not something that they want to do.
but we've heard from neighbors in the area that they would like to see it as not being a rental at some point in time. And I think if we were to discuss it as a council, council probably has the same thought, that as long as it's a family member or immediate family in each of the dwellings,
Yeah.
then we're fine with it. If it ends up that the suite in the basement is an Airbnb or a rental, we're gonna have a chamber full of people here saying like, what's going on there? So I guess council is looking at it in the sense that if we put that condition on, that could alleviate issues in the future for us.
Yeah, so your council can put a condition saying that it shall not be a rental unit, but you can put a condition saying that it shall only be for a family member, and just kind of different between the two.
That's fine.
Can't be
Okay, that-
rental.
So that will work if we put a condition on there that the second dwelling is not to be a rental unit. Okay, and I guess the lot grading, the road and the sewer, we can talk to our staff about a couple of those things. I don't know that it needs to go in the resolution for the approval for the two-family dwelling.
No, Madam Mayor, the lot grading will be required, a lot grading permit will be applied for as part of this, and the lot grading will be approved through our Public Works Department. And as to the relationship of where the curb stop is and the access, we'll have to address that as part of the overall process. The access that you were talking about where there's
Oh, the maintenance
no,
company.
it's,
Yeah.
and that's a responsibility of the RM, and we couldn't put that on the applicant anyways. And so the only thing would be the lot grading, and the lot grading is required as part of a new construction. If it was an existing building, it wouldn't require the lot grading necessarily.
Sure. And that thing shouldn't be white, it should be like orange, so the maintenance guys don't miss it. I think it's mostly white, they just mow it over every year, so.
Take it under consideration.
Go ahead, Councillor Strang.
Just gonna throw a wrench out there, but, so if we put in the conditional use that they can't rent it, can they sell it as a two-family dwelling? I'm just throwing it out there.
Go ahead,
I don't know,
Penny.
I'm just.
Yeah.
just putting it-
Yeah, so I'm still gonna go back to what is before council tonight. It's a two-family dwelling, which is a separate unit. So apparently they will be able to sell it in future. Because they are separate units.
They should be able to sell it,
Yeah. So
but a separate unit, I don't think they could sell.
So, I'm looking at it from the zoning bylaw perspective, but in terms of the configuration of what the applicant is proposing, it's gonna be difficult to sell. But if you have a two-family dwelling, like a standard side or upper or lower unit, you can do that. But the way this is configured, I don't think they can sell it.
Yes, because I think the access is through the garage.
It is,
Yeah,
Like, we're,
yeah.
we're talking about selling just the basement?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do people do that?
No, people don't normally do that, but
Cool.
what the
Yeah.
planner is saying is that if it's a two-family dwelling, if it was a normal two-family dwelling, you'd be able to sell one of
Yes.
those
Yeah.
Understood, yeah.
one of those individually, but the configuration of this, because you are going through a garage,
Yeah.
it's almost impossible to try to sell that as a separate
Yeah.
unit.
Which is the point. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
And the only other question I would ask of council, Madam Mayor,
Go
if I
ahead.
maybe
Yeah.
read it, is,
Yes.
did you want to put any conditions for requirement of connecting into the sewer?
Oh, I guess I felt that it would just be a norm because it's there. so-
Conservation made that quote
Yeah.
in there.
Says that
Yes.
it'll be-
Okay, so if we need to have that in the resolution, we should include that they be, I guess, obligated to hook up to the sewer. Okay,
It's okay, I'll word it.
okay.
It
Okay.
wasn't the plan.
Go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
Not to open a can of worms here. But, you've heard tonight that there's already drainage issues there. That's before the lot grade has been done and the building's been built. So I know it doesn't go in this situation, but I think we should maybe have Public Works take a look at what can be done in the area to improve the drainage. Maybe once we get our lot grade, then we can take a look at, because well, Sandra's seen it, every spring you get, like there's not much water on that road. Every spring.
Might I suggest, Councillor, that becomes a separate resolution from council for the administration to look at drainage issues on River B as opposed to building into this application?
Yeah, no, I don't think it goes here, but I think we can't lose sight of it. Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else before we close the public hearing on conditional use 4 of 2023? Okay, if I could have the resolution to close the public hearing, please.
Whereas the applicant owner of tax roll number 6150, property legally described as Lot 1, Block 2, Plan 32567, and, located at Riverview Lane, has made application for conditional use 4 of 2023 in order to allow a two-family dwelling on the subject property. Therefore, be it resolved, conditional use application number 4 of 2023 be approved with the following conditions. The conditional use approval is limited to, sorry, I went to the resolution, I was supposed to close the hearing.
Yes.
I apologize.
It's been a long day.
Yes. Resolved that the public hearing for conditional use 4 of 2023 be closed and the regular session of council be reconvened.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Horwath, second. Councillor Boulanger. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Okay, now if we can have the resolution for the actual
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
conditional use.
Whereas the applicant owner of tax roll number 6150, a property legally described as Lot 1, Block 2, Plan 32567, located at Riverview Lane, has made application for conditional use 4 of 2023 in order to allow a two-family dwelling on the subject property. Therefore, be it resolved, conditional use application 4 of 2023 be approved with the following conditions. That the conditional use approval is limited to what was proposed within this application. Any changes in use may require new conditional use approval. Secondary dwelling not to be used as rental unit. Both the dwellings connect to the sewer system when it becomes available. Applicant owner obtains all permits from Red River Planning.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Strang. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Bazarowicz. Any further discussion on this application? Go ahead, Councillor Bazarowicz.
Yeah, Mr. Administrator said something about both units have to be hooked up to the sewer system. This is under one roof, but they need two curb stops? Is that what you're suggesting, or just that it's only we have it?
That's something we'll have a discussion with our public works about, but if it's seen as a two-family dwelling, it will require two curb stops. But that might be something that can be determined and negotiated afterwards.
Okay, anything else? I have a mover, I have a seconder, and if there are no further questions, I'll call the questions. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, we're going to move on. That was the only conditional use we have this evening, so we'll move on to variations. And the first one we have is variation order number 13 of 2023. And if I could have a resolution to move into variation board, please.
Resolved that the regular meeting be adjourned and the public hearing be open for variation order number 13 of 2023.
Okay, Femi, if you could walk us through this one, please.
There's 13 of 2023, the address is on Gary Road, road number 226 and 363. The intent is to reduce the required site area for proposed lot 1 to 1.6 acre minimum, proposed lot 2 to 3 acre minimum, and proposed lot 3 to 3 acre minimum from the required 4 acre minimum in the AR category restricted zone. This application is part of the conditions within final approved of subdivision S2129.6. This table shows what is being requested. The subject site is on AR and the minimum lot area is 4 acres. And the applicant has proposed 3 lots which have been approved. And lot 1 is 1.6 acres, lot 2 2 acres, and lot 3 2 acres instead of 4 acres. This is the subject site that shows the surrounding context. And this is the subdivision application map as submitted under S212926 by the applicant creating 3 lots. For council's consideration, RRPD board finally approved S212926 and the container approval letter was sent out by RRPD on February 2016, 2022. Approving this variance will allow the applicant to complete condition 4 on the container approved letter and move one step closer to completing all required conditions. Committee agencies there is no concerns. RRPD is recommending just one condition as part of this application, and that completes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Femi. Any questions to the planner from members of council? Okay, I see the applicant is on Zoom. Mr. Martin, is there anything that you wanted to add to your application at this point?
No, there's nothing else to add. It's pretty straightforward.
Thank you for that. I'm just going to check if there's anybody in the audience who wishes to speak. There are a few people in the council chamber, but I do not have any other names on my list. So anybody here to speak on this variation order application? Okay, what is the wish of council? Are you ready to deal with it this evening? Okay, if I can then get a resolution to come out of variation board, please.
Resolve the public hearing for variation order 13 of 2023 be closed and regular session council be reconvened.
Can I have a mover? Councillor Corbis, second. Councillor Strang. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. And if we could have a resolution to approve the variation.
Whereas the applicant owner of tax roll number 226363 legally described as Block 3 Plan 46499 and located at A Road has made application for variation order number 13 of 2023 from site area 4 acres to site area proposed lot 1 1.65 acres, proposed lot 2 2 acres, proposed lot 3 2 acres. Purpose to reduce the minimum site area proposed lots 1, 2, and 3 within the agricultural restricted zone. The requested variance is part of the conditions within the conditionally approved subdivision application S21 of 2926. Therefore, be it resolved, variation order 13 of 2023 be approved with the following conditions: that the variance be limited to what is being proposed in this application. Any further changes require new variance approval.
Okay, can I have a mover, please? Councillor Bazarowicz moves, Councillor Spicer seconds. Any further discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Bazarowicz.
Just wondering what were the widths of these properties?
Facing the road, one is at 247.87, and that's proposed lot 1. Proposed lot 2 is 266 feet, and proposed lot 3 is 234.7 feet.
Great, wonderful, thank you.
Okay, anything else? I have a mover, I have a seconder, and if there are no further questions, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. Okay, the next application we have is variation order 16 of 2023, and if I could have a resolution to move into variation order, please.
Resolved that the regular meeting be adjourned, the public hearing be open for variation order 16 of 2023.
Can I have a mover, please? Councilor Horvis, Councilor Spicer seconds. Any discussion? Call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. And Femi, if you can just walk us through variation 16 of 2023, please.
Variation 16 of 2023, the address is 876 Road 33A, roll number 457-200. So the intent is to reduce the required site area from the required 80-acre minimum for the residual lot to 70.76 acre minimum, and propose lot 1 to 5 acre minimum within the A80 agricultural general zone. This application is part of the conditions within the approved S22-2975. This is request table which shows that the subject site is zone A80, and the applicant is proposing 2 lots that doesn't meet the 80-acre requirements. This is the subject site that shows the surrounding area. And this is the submitted application map by the applicants under subdivision S22-2975. Shows the 2 lots that have been created. For council's consideration, the RPD board approved this application S22-2975 in January 2025, January 25, 2023. This variance will allow the applicant to complete condition 5 on the conditional approval letter and move one step closer to completing all conditions required for the application. Subject property is designated A80 Cathedral Limited in the zoning bylaw and ROA resource and agriculture in the development plan. As proposed, the site area requirement did not comply with zoning bylaw, and the agency generated no concerns. Medical planning is recommending that only one condition be placed on the subject application. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you for that, Femi. Any questions to the planner from members of council? Is the applicant in the audience this evening? Is there anything you wanted to add to this application at this point?
No.
Okay. Is there anybody else in the audience who wishes to speak on this application? Go ahead, sir. You can come up to the podium and give us your name for the record.
You want to be? I'll take your place. Ken Wallace.
Are you sure?
I'm good for this. I was wondering, what are you actually planning to do? You're taking just your yard site and taking it off into 5-acre lot, or you're?
No, it's a separate lot in a low-lying area, and we are planning on selling it for somebody to build a single-family dwelling.
Yes, okay, so here we go. We have it zoned as agricultural, 80, and I'm a farmer, and the people in the residential, which was really huge this evening, were very opposed to the double residential unit in a residential area because of the traffic and everything, et cetera, et cetera. Well, it's zoned residential. To me, there should be more of that, because when we bring out more residential into the country, they talk about traffic. Well, you come out and live on Road 80, you almost need red lights and stuff. It's getting so bad. It's hard to farm. There's a big farm I know down by Lorette. They actually banned burning in that whole municipality because they've got so much residential in the area. People, you know, I know that the smoke is bad, and I don't believe in burning myself, but that's the first step in restricting agriculture. Now, do you want to eat, or do you want a place, or you want a place to live? Now, you have the residential areas already, build them up. Go to multiple family units and stuff, because we're going to run out of farmland. China tried to buy 10 square miles up by like the Bonnie, of all places. And it didn't go through because the land is poor out there and the weather is worse.
but they're going around the world because they have to feed themselves.
Okay, we're gonna have to.
We're getting off topic, okay.
I'm gonna stop
Yeah.
you because you are way off topic.
Yeah.
We are dealing with this one
Yes.
application.
Okay, but that's another place, like there is the one residential area, fine. If there's a yard site already, fine, but no more yard sites in the area, on an A80 or whatever.
I am going to ask the planner to explain that because I believe that they are only allowed to create the one smaller parcel. If you could please explain that, Femi.
Yes, so the subject property is on A80, and under the development plan, the applicant is allowed, is permitted to create just one residential lot for that A80 acre lot, just one time.
Okay, so if they came back with their 75 acres and wanted to split off another 5, you wouldn't even take the application, correct?
We will take the application, but it's going to be a rejection.
A rejection.
Yes.
No.
Just another point is, this is at the variance level. The subdivision has already been approved
For that lot, that
for
property.
that creation of that property. The subdivision was approved, so this is a condition as part of the subdivision approval that they needed a variance for the small lot, the individual lot. And I appreciate that you've got some concerns, and we've made some changes with Red River planning. In the future, those subdivisions and variances would come together. In this case, the subdivision was approved last year, and now they're coming forward with a variance.
But you just said you could only have one subdivision, or one subdivided lot on.
Correct.
Well, they have to have their
still
yard
correct.
site pulled off, or are they on a different 80-acre parcel?
It's still part of the 75.
Yeah. So where does the one subdivided yard site come in?
Lot area, because in the A80, the minimum lot area is 80 acres, and they're creating
But they have their original yard site already, and all they want is sell it off into another one.
No, so let me see if, and I'll let the planner explain it, who's the expert on this, but if you have an A80 parcel,
Yeah,
you're allowed to split off one parcel from it.
one time.
It doesn't matter if you have a house on, it's not cutting off the house part. It's allowing you to take one parcel out. Now, in most cases, it's been usually the yard site
Yeah.
that the farmer is separating off to retire on, and then he sells off the rest of
Yeah.
it. But legally, they're allowed to create one lot off of that.
Another
So
one.
they're doing, no, just one, and they could live on the rest. Normally, it was intended for just to be able to do that, but legally, they're allowed to create one lot as a yard,
Yeah.
and they can decide to sell it. So as a farmer, you'd be able to, if you were choosing to retire, as an example, you had 80 acres, 80 acres, you could carve off a piece of property and sell that separately, and sell the rest of it separately,
Yeah.
and live somewhere else altogether. So that's your choices.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. for
At
sure.
the end of the day, they're allowed to
Yeah.
create one lot
Okay, so,
out of it, and that's what they did. They created one lot. They will, in the future, if they come to take from the 75 acres, if they try to subdivide it again, they're not going to be allowed. Because
That's
they've
today.
had the one chance.
That's today. When the
No.
80 first came out, you weren't allowed to subdivide it, but then as it goes along, then.
No,
it's
when
like-
the 880 came out, they were always allowed to create
Really?
one additional lot on the
All
880s.
right.
Always.
Stand corrected then, yes, okay. Yeah, that's, getting back to my point, like, I mean, residential should be kept residential. Because now it comes into a problem farming with spraying. You know, not in that particular spot, because they're away from the, well, I'm across the road from that spot.
I understand, sir. Again, I have to, and I apologize for interrupting you, but I have to explain to you, the subdivision
Yeah, it was already
open hearing
passed, okay.
has
but in-
passed, and so to have that dialogue on this application, it has to be restricted strictly to the variance itself.
Yeah, okay, but in future, it's like, either you people want to eat, or you don't, and you're gonna have to make up your mind in your future considerations.
You make some very good points, sir.
No, it's true.
Can you just give us your name again and where your location? We missed it when you first came to the podium, sorry.
You're like me, Ken Waslick, And I farm just across the road, actually, I've got 80 acres in there. And we went through the variation and everything else variance with Mrs. Whitels, Pauline Whitels,
Okay,
2 years
yeah,
ago.
yeah,
So I farm that property now.
okay. Okay,
So,
so
yeah.
thank you for that, and
Yeah.
I think, you know, as far as this goes, the subdivision was approved, now they've
Yeah.
come back for their variation, and, as
So,
we've
okay.
explained, they're not gonna be allowed to, or they can make application, but if it came to council, it probably would not be approved if they wanted to split off another 5 acres.
So here's another question, why weren't we notified when it went for subdivision?
Go ahead, Femi.
So because the applicant was not creating roads as part of that application, it's not subject to a public hearing.
Yeah, but what's the use of having this one when it's already done, it's a done deal?
Well, those are the rules of the Planning Act, and
Oh,
unfortunately, we can't change them here, so you can
I
talk
know,
to the
but-
province.
Well, I'll bring it to your attention anyway, that's
You
true.
make a very good point, sir. The council had a discussion and debate about this last year.
Yeah,
And they said that if you're going to come to a public hearing for a variance as a condition of a subdivision, they want both of those bundled together in the future.
okay,
So it has been addressed to go
Yeah.
moving forward,
yeah,
but this application was done before that decision was made of
understood,
council.
yeah. Oh, just another point of, or interest.
We have, yeah, I'm gonna have to cut you
Yeah,
off
okay,
because we
all
got
right.
a few other.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Closing the public hearing.
Okay, if there are no other questions on this application, I'm gonna ask for a resolution to close the public hearing on this variation.
Resolved that the public hearing for variation order 16 of 2023 be closed and the regular session of council be reconvened.
Can I have a mover, please? Counselor Spicer, Counselor Strang, second. Any discussion? Call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. And if we could have the resolution for the subdivision.
Whereas applicant owner of tax roll number 457200 legally described as part southeast 1614 or -14-6E and located at 876 Road 33 East has made application for variation order 16 of 2023 from site area 80 acres minimum to site area proposed lot 1 5 acres minimum and residual lot 70.76 acres. Purpose to reduce the minimum site area of the proposed and residual lots within the A80 agricultural general zone. The requested variance in this application is part of the conditions within the conditionally approved subdivision application S22 of 2975. Therefore, be it resolved, variation order 16 of 2023 be approved with the following conditions. That the variance be limited to what is being proposed in this application. Any further changes will require a new variance approval.
Can I have a mover, please? Counselor Sutherland, second. Counselor Horbus. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. Okay, moving on, the next application we have is variation order number 22 of 2023, and if I can get a resolution to move into variation board.
Resolve the regular meeting be adjourned and the public hearing be open for variation order number 22 of 2023.
Moved by Councillor Belanger, second by Councillor Bazarowicz. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, carried. And Femi, if you could walk us through that one, please.
Variance application BO 22-2023. The address is 73040 Ashfield Road, road number 249-800. The intent is to increase the required number of accessories from required 2 for proposal of 3 to 4 maximum within the AR agricultural restricted zone. The requested variance is part of the conditions within finally approved S21-2887. This is the variance requested, which shows what the subject property zone is on AR, and in the AR zoning district, the maximum allowed accessory structure is 2. The applicant is not proposing. Due to the subdivision, there were 4 accessory structures on proposal of 3, and that is why we have this variance application. This is the subject site and the surrounding area. And this is the subdivision application map as submitted by the applicant. And there subdivision S21 2887. It shows the 4 lots that was created, and it shows lot 3 here and all the other. For council's consideration, RRPD board approved S21 2887, and the conditional application was sent out by RRPD on October 21st, 2021. Approving these areas will allow the applicant to complete condition 4 on the conditional approval letter and move one step closer to completing all conditions required for the application. In early 2015, prior to land being subdivided, the variance approval for 4 accessory structures was approved by Settlement Council under the 22314. The variance specified that expansion or replacement of any accessory structure on site will require a new variance approval. In 2019, the applicant sought and got approval to replace one of the existing accessory structures on site. There are no concerns from the Public Works Department. Other commenting agencies did not comment at the time of this report. RRPD is recommending just one condition as a condition of approval. The council wishes to approve it. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions to the planner from members of council? Okay, I don't see the applicant in the audience, Mr. Huck, or somebody representing Mr. Huck this evening. Okay, the other name I have on my list here is Dietrich Fair. Are you in the audience, and have you anything you want to say to this application, Mr. Fair?
No, we just want to know what's going on.
Okay. Okay. So I guess if there are no questions from council, if council's ready to deal with it, I will ask to come out of variation board and we will proceed.
Resolve the public hearing for variation order number 22 of 2023 be closed and regular session of council be reconvened.
Can I have a mover, please? Councilor Bazarowicz, Councilor Corbis seconds. Discussion. Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. And if we bring the resolution forward for the actual approval.
Whereas the applicant owner of tax roll number 249800 legally described as Lot 2, Plan 2282 and located at 73040 Ashfield Road is made application for variation order 22 of 2023. Maximum number of accessory structures 2 to maximum number of accessory structures proposed Lot 3 to 4 max. Purpose to increase the maximum number of accessory structures proposed Lot 3 within the agricultural restricted zone. The requested variance is in this application as part of the conditions within the conditionally approved subdivision application S21 of 2887. Therefore be it resolved, variation order 2022 of 2023 be approved with the following conditions: that this variance be limited to what is being proposed in this application. Any further changes will require new variance approval.
Can I have a mover, please? Councilor Sutherland, Councilor Boulanger seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. Okay, the next application we have is another variation, and it is variation order number 24 of 2023. And if I could get a resolution to move into the board, please.
Resolved that the regular meeting be adjourned and the public hearing be open for variation order 24 of 2023.
Can I have a mover, please? Councilor Bazarowicz, Councilor Strang seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. And Femi, if you could walk us through this one, please.
The variance application bill 24 2023, application is 73125 Ashfield Road and 26010 Palmyra Road number 251100, 251125. The intent is to increase the required number of accessories from the required to maximum for proposed lot 1 to 7 maximum and proposed lot 5 to 3 maximum within the AR restricted zone. The requested variance is part of the conditions within conditional approved S21 2907. This is the variance request. It shows what is allowed under the AR zone to accessory structures maximum. And under the proposed lot 1 applicant is retaining 7 structures. and under proposed lot 5, applicant is retaining of these structures. This is the subject site and the surrounding area. And this is the submitted application map as per S212907 by the applicant. It shows the 2 lots being created, the existing house and the accessory structures on site. For council's consideration, the RRPD board continually approved S212907, and the continual approval letter was sent out by RRPD on January 26, 2022. Approving this variance will allow the applicant to complete condition 5 and 6 on the continual approval letter and move one step closer to completing all conditions required for the application. As a result of the approved subdivision, there are now 7 accessory structures on the total of 1 and 3 on the total of 5. Commenting agencies did not comment at the time of this report. RRPD is recommending just one condition: the council should approve this application. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any questions to the planner from council? Okay, the applicants are in the audience. Do you have anything at this point that you want to add to your application?
No, we're good.
Okay. Again, Mr. Fair, do you have anything you want to add, or is it kind of the same that you're just kind of interested to know what's going on in the neighborhood? Okay. Any other questions from anybody? I see there's a young couple in the audience. Were you here for a specific application, or?
The one we were interested in was variance 25.
Oh, so that's the next one, okay. All right, I just wasn't sure because we are getting close to the end here, so.
Appreciate it.
Okay, any other questions? If council's ready to deal with it, I'll ask for a resolution to come out of variation board on file 24/2023.
Resolved that the public hearing for variation order 24 of 2023 be closed and regular session of council be reconvened.
Can I have a mover, please? Councilor Forgus, Councilor Sutherland seconds. Discussion. Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. And if I could have a resolution for this variation, please.
Whereas the applicant owner of tax roll number 251-100 and 251-125 legally described as lots 2 and 3, plan 18894 and located at 73125 Asheville Road and 26010 Pioneer Road, has made application for variation order 24 of 2023, maximum number of accessory structures 2, maximum number of accessories, proposed lot 1, 7, proposed lot 5, 3. Purpose to increase the maximum number of accessory structures, proposed lots of lot 1 and 5 within the agricultural restricted zone. The requested variance in this application is part of the conditions within the conditionally approved subdivision application S21 of 2907. Therefore, be it resolved, variation order number 24 of 2023 be approved with the following conditions: that the variance be limited to what is being proposed in this application, and any further changes require a new variance approval.
Can I have a mover, please? Councilor Spicer, Councilor Forgus seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, variation order number 25 of 2023. Can I give a resolution to move into variation board, please?
Resolved that the regular meeting be adjourned and the public hearing be open for variation of 25 of 2023.
Can I have a mover, please? Councilor Boulanger, second. Councilor Bazarowicz. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And Femi, if you want to go ahead on variation order 25 of 2023.
Deal 25, 2023, the address is 187 Limousin Avenue, road number 311-508. The intent is to increase the required number of accessory structures from the required 2 maximum to 4 maximum within the AR agricultural restricted zone. This is the variance requested, which shows what is allowed in the AR zone, maximum of 2. The applicant is proposing 4 accessory structure maximum. This is the subject site and the surrounding area. And this is the subject site plan. It shows the existing house, the existing garage and the proposed shed. It also shows the two proposed, the two existing sheds on site. This is a zooming site plan of the applicant, which shows the size of the new shed. For council's consideration, the intent of the site proposal is to construct a 280 square foot shed on the subject property. There's an existing detached garage and two firewood holding sheds on the site. The number of accessory structures, 4 in total, does not comply with the Secretary zoning bylaw 5/2002, area of actual repair zone. There are no variances associated with both the existing and the proposed shed on site. Given the size of the subject property at 5 acres, council should consider whether the number of the proposed accessory structures are compatible with the general nature of the area. The application was submitted to the area of employment for comments, with no public board noting no concerns. RRPD is recommending just one condition should council choose to approve this application. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Femi. Any questions to the planner from members of council? Go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
If I have a question for the applicant, can I come back to the planner afterwards?
Yes.
Okay, I'll hold for a moment.
Okay. Is the applicant in the audience this evening? Do you want to have anything to add, or do you want to come forward? Not at this point in time. I do believe the councillor does have a question for you, though.
Sure.
Councillor Spicer, go ahead.
I see you have 2 firewood holders here.
Right.
Mhm.
We don't have a picture of what a firewood holder is. Can you describe it to me?
It's about the size of Femi's desk, maybe a little longer, and it's got walls and a little metal roof, and it's see-through, I guess, right? And it's just to store my firewood for my fireplace.
Okay.
It has a little door at the front. They're pretty basic. I'm kind of surprised to be here, you know. Like, the cost of the variance is more than the cost of the wood and the whole structures. Just saying.
Councillor Spicer, did you still want to ask the planner a question?
I guess the simple question is we're considering those structures?
We take them as accessory structures. Because in the zoning bylaw, there's no definition that kind of say this is not an accessory structure. So if something is not in main use, then it becomes an accessory structure. So that's how we see it. And that was why the applicant was saying that he was surprised that we took this as an accessory structure.
Yeah, because these are like, what, 60 square feet?
Yeah.
Foundation, there's nothing.
Yeah, I thought 10 by 10 was, it's kind
I was gonna ask, is that the,
Here, I will get to you. There is a process that we follow here, so if you have questions, I will eventually ask you to come forward, so.
Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, there's nothing in the zoning bylaw that would have allowed them to circumvent that process of not taking that as an accessory structure.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I guess I do have one question, because I think it said, I think I read it somewhere, is that the structure that you want to put up is 12 by 24, and they're calling it a shed.
Correct.
Yes. To me, 12 by 24, is that not more like a garage? A small garage? It's still an accessory building, I get that, but I'm just, the terminology, like, to me, I think my garage is 12 by 24, and you're calling it a shed here. Just
Are you talking to me? Is the
clarification, yeah.
We purchased it as a shed from a shed company.
Okay,
Like, I didn't go and say I'm purchasing a
Right,
garage. I
yeah.
have a double detached garage.
Yes,
The
I
purpose-
see that.
Yeah, the purpose of this is to store like a snowmobile and
Yeah,
a quad
yeah.
and garden accessories.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna be used, there's not gonna be a concrete pad or anything. It's like the sheds you see at the gas stations.
yeah.
right? Exactly those. So
exactly.
the intent is in
Okay.
the garage.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, I don't see any other people on the list here, but if you could come to the podium and state your name and your location, and then you can ask your question.
Hi, I'm Terry Radons. I believe I live.
Say again?
Terry Radons?
Radons?
Yes.
Okay,
I live, I guess, behind you guys probably.
Okay.
No concerns with the application. I was just looking for some clarification, which I think the counselor here was trying to ask. For my own personal understanding, when I read the regulations for the municipality, an accessory structure was any building in excess of 100 square feet. Is that still accurate of an understanding, or could you clarify that for me?
Femi, can you clarify that, please?
Yeah, so in the zoning bylaw, is kind of general, an accessory structure is subordinate to the main use. So whatever it is that is subordinate to the main use is considered an accessory structure. So the size is another thing. So sometimes if it's, I think it's if it's lower than 107, then you don't require permits to build those, but that is different from not being an accessory structure. So you still require for the size, it's still considered an accessory structure on site.
Does that answer your question?
I didn't quite catch everything
So-
you said regarding the size.
So you said you read somewhere that if it's 100 square feet.
It could perhaps be that they're in a slightly different development agreement than my region. Being behind me, I know my subdivision is slightly newer. I do believe that the planning documents for my subdivision does explicitly state that any accessory building in excess of 100 square feet is considered an accessory building. It requires a permit, but under 100 square feet, there is no limit to the number you can have.
So that is different. So the fact that it requires a permit. So if it's smaller than 100 square feet, you don't need to go to Red River for any permit. You can just go and build it. But if we're calculating the number of accessory structures on site, it will still be considered an accessory structure. But that does not mean that well, you don't require a permit, but it's still an accessory structure.
I would question several in the neighborhood.
And
There's a lot of fire sheds and sea-cans in the overarching area of the whole neighborhood. It seems to be a pretty general usage of the structure. We're here just to learn about the process. This is very informative. Thank you. I don't have any concerns with this, as I think that's what you're asking why I'm here.
Yeah, and I was going to ask what your location is.
134 Fleming Drive.
Fleming Drive, so
Correct.
you're to the north, so that
To the
could
north,
very
yes,
well
we
be a
received
different development agreement.
It is, I do believe,
Yeah.
a slightly different one. We're an infill
I don't
subdivision
think
located between the
This
two
has
existing.
nothing to do
No,
with
it
development
doesn't.
agreements.
It doesn't,
Zoning
but what
bylaw.
she's saying is their development agreement says
I
something
believe it
different
does
than what Femi's saying.
explicitly
Are you
stipulate.
reading in the development agreement, or are you reading the regulations on the Red River Planning?
Oh, it could be both. I did read extensively when building my house recently, but I'm a little hazy. That's why I asked for the
I
clarification
would
from
be
council.
surprised to see a development agreement restricting or even indicating whether you need a permit. The development agreement wouldn't do that. So
It
what
maybe
Femi
refers-
explained,
I think it refers to RPD in a subsection perhaps.
probably, it
Yeah.
refers to RPD, and then when you go to RPD, RPD's regulations are, if you're under 100 square feet, you do not require a building permit. And so if you put up if you buy a shed 10 by 10, you don't need a building permit. And so that means you could place it on your site. What Femi's talking about is those two components. One is building permits, the other is zoning approval. And on the zoning bylaw, it regards anything that's covered as an accessory structure in the zoning bylaw.
Okay.
So you don't need a permit, but in the
It's-
zoning bylaw, it still sees it as an accessory structure, and it counts it as one of those numbers of accessory structures. Council has identified this as a concern. They're going to be looking at it in the future, but legally, as what he is describing in the zoning bylaw, it's seen as an accessory structure. So if the applicants had bought a 10 by 10, they would have put up a 10 by 10, they wouldn't have needed a permit. And because they didn't need a permit, they wouldn't have shown up at Red River Planning, and they wouldn't have been identified as 3 accessory structures. Because they were building a 12 by 24, they came for a building permit, When they came for the building permit, they took a look at the number of other structures. They identified the sheds as covered buildings, and they got identified as.
Needing a variation.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember we were going back and forth with the applicant on this one because of, is the shed an accessory structure, is it not? But,
Yeah.
the determination was made that they are in fact an accessory structure, so.
Just cut them in half.
Okay, anything else?
Let's take the
Just a
roof off.
follow-up question. I understand you mentioned that a roof makes it considered an accessory structure. Does it require the structure to be completely enclosed? Like if it has a roof but it's open on one side and only 3 sides are closed, is that still considered an accessory structure?
Yes, it doesn't really, the definition doesn't really talk about whether it's closed or not. It only says if it's subordinate, if you have a structure that is used in the enjoyment of the main structure, of the main building, that supports the main building, it's an accessory structure. It's
It
really,
supports.
yeah. it
So a
supports.
playhouse would not, because it doesn't support. Just trying to understand the boundaries.
Yeah, you know what, you can give planning board a call anytime and go over some of these things with the planner.
Thank you, this has been very informative and enlightening. These are interesting clarifications.
I think, just to
Thank you
be,
for letting me learn on your report.
just to be clear, that is why municipalities do a review of zoning bylaws when they're first written, to how times change and you have to make sure you make some modifications so that they're consistent to what the reality out there is. And that's what council is requesting for the review of the zoning bylaw. So hopefully we can avoid some of these confusions, but you have to appreciate when these rules are written, they're written and they have to be applied. The planners' responsibility is to apply the language that's written today.
One last question, if I may. You mentioned that there will be a review of this legislature and how it applies going forward. Where, when, or how would I become informed of that proposed change to, understand it, contest it, follow it, etc.?
It'll be public, we will have public notices for a zoning bylaw review. Red River Planning will be completing that, and as they do that, there will be public hearings and consultation that will occur in this parliament.
Okay, thank
So
you.
there'll be ads in the paper and you can always check our website because they'll be on there.
Perfect. Nothing further from me, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I think we are ready to deal with this application. So I think what we need is a resolution to go back to regular council, please.
Resolved that the public hearing for variation order 25 of 2023 be closed and the regular session of council be reconvened.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Strang, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Discussion. Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. And if I could have the resolution for variation order 25 of 2023.
Whereas applicant owner of tax roll number 311508, legally described as Lot 5, Block 1, Plan 16617, and located on 187 Limousine Avenue, has made application for variation order number 25 of 2023, maximum number of accessories 2 to maximum number of accessories 4. Purpose to increase the maximum number of accessory structures from the required 2 to 4 within the AR agricultural restricted zone. Therefore, be it resolved, variation order 25 of 2023 be approved with the following conditions: that the variance be limited to what is being proposed in this application. Any further change will require new variance approval.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Spicer, Councillor Horvath seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. So you're good to go.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on unless anybody wants a 2-minute break. If not, we're going to go on to our subdivisions that we have that do not require public hearings, and there are a few of those this evening. So what is the wish? Keep going? Take 5? Huh? Truck on? Okay, so the first one I have is subdivision file S232990 at 5769 Henderson Highway.
The subdivision application S232990 of 5769 Henderson Highway, road number 10400. The intent is to subdivide an existing parcel into two proposed lots in the AR agriculturally restricted and RR residential zone. This is the subject site that shows the surrounding area. And this is the submitted application map that shows the parcels being created. It shows parcels A, B, and C. This is the proposed summary of proposed lots. The zone AR, in the AR zone, the minimum lot area is 4 acres, and the minimum lot width is 198 feet. So the applicant is proposing for proposed lot 1, 4.3 acres and 99 feet width, and proposed lot 2, 16.1 acres and 90.89 feet width. RP analysis. Subject proposal meets the general intent of agricultural restricted and general development policies of the RP development plan and zoning bylaws. The proposal is consistent with policy 4.2 of 11.1 that the property falls within the ordinance where small infill lots may be permitted. Proposed parcels have frontage on an all-weather or standard roadways. Such proposal is generally compatible with the existing governance patterns and character within the immediate vicinity. Other than the comments from MTI and Manitoba Environment Compliance Branch, other commenting agencies generally said no concerns with the proposed subdivision. RPD is recommending approval subject to 2 conditions. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions to the planner on this application? Go ahead, Sandra.
Just have a question, are we taking any, I guess it's not really for the planner, but are we taking any property for future roads cutting across?
If it was identified,
I just know because there are the lateral roads that cut through, so. Sorry.
Sorry, I hadn't seen this application till, so I'm not sure whether we require a road here. Usually our public works does take a look at this.
Can you blow that up a bit?
There would be
Let me see if I can.
one
bring it
on
up.
C, one on B, and 2 possibly on A.
Do you want to lay this over?
I don't know, can we?
We could lay this over till the next meeting.
I need to check when it was submitted because of the timeline.
Just that was one of my questions.
That's a very good
Good
point.
question, Councilor.
Very good point.
What roads is this between?
Rebec and Henderson. It stretches all the way.
No, in
These
between,
west roads.
yes, laterals.
They would be some of the future ones, so.
No, which roads is it
Existing.
between? Is it between Church and Lubeck, or is it between Lubeck and Henning, or?
No, Ludwig and Church, yeah.
Looks like there might be one to the south, at least.
That is not updated too, but that map,
Oh, okay.
there's another one that should be in parcel C.
Yeah, there's one,
Mhm.
I see where you're talking about.
Ludwig and Church.
I know for Ludwig, there's one for sure, right?
Yeah, and there's one,
Yeah.
there's one in between the drainage and Rebec Road too. Like
Yeah,
the
because
road
they're, the intent was for this road to go through and for that road to go through, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Maybe we should hold this over.
What's the date?
The application was received January 26th.
Of this year.
Yes.
And how many days do we have?
90 days. Sixth of March 26th.
What's our next council?
April 20, April 21.
And April.
April 24.
Well, I don't know, this one doesn't need a,
April 25th it would be.
well, this one doesn't need a hearing or anything, so could we not do it on April the 11th?
That's true.
Yep, we could,
You know, there's no,
public hearing.
no public hearings.
Just to give them a chance to review.
Yeah. So the public works for review, for sure, definitely.
And bring it back for April 11th. Okay, so we don't need to do anything else with this one?
Good, that was a lot of reading there.
Give me a break, Steve.
Okay, so the next application we have that no public hearing is required is file number S23-2993.
Subdivision application S23, 2993. Address is at 28092 Road 74 North, road number 252-600. The intent is to subdivide the land currently on 2 titles, but on a single parcel into 2 lots. This is the subject side that shows the site itself and surrounding context. And this is the subnet application map by the applicant showing the lot 1, proposed lot 2, and the residual lots. The subject property is on A80, and in the A80 zone, the minimum lot area is 8 acres, and the minimum lot width is 300 feet. And the applicant is proposing for proposed lot 1, 3.64 acres, 300 feet width. For proposed lot 2, 6.89 acres and 300 feet width. And for the residual lot, 65.717 acres and 142 feet width. RRPD analysis. The current subdivision application appears to constitute a gradual and incremental fragmentation of agricultural land zone A80, which is not consistent with the broad intent of resource and agricultural policies of the development plan. When the applicant initially discussed this proposal with the RRPD, the intent was to create just one lot comprising both proposed lot 1 and 2, which will be consistent or comply with the development plan. The RRPD development plan is very specific under section 4.1.14 that only one lot is permitted as a result of consolidation, amalgamation, or the creation of household for the charge farmer from an A80 lot. RRPD is recommending not to approve this application as presented, but if council wishes to approve it, RRPD is recommending 3 conditions. And that concludes my presentation.
Go ahead, Councillor Spicer. I'm still trying to wrap my head around what they want to do here.
So just to be clear, then, you're not recommending approval because it's 880 and only one?
Yeah, it's allowed, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I think I left too early, people heard that.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Boulanger.
So proposed lot 1, it's the larger lot that's there, the L14?
Proposed lot 1 is this one?
Yes, that small one there.
Yeah, the small.
So the bigger plot to the left there, that's just residual as well?
Yeah, that's part of the residual.
Okay.
Okay, so what is the wish? Do you want to deal with it? I can see it a little bit more clearly now. Lot 1 is just kind of that corner.
Yeah, this is proposed lot 1, and the small one to the, that is proposed lot 2.
Okay.
Really though, it kind of makes sense in a way.
If you look at lot 2,
Yeah.
why wouldn't, it's got the road right there.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't that be allowed?
Yeah, I know, but then it goes back to the ruling, like, but it just, I don't know.
Go ahead.
Well, maybe we should be careful for this guy.
Go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
I have a question for administration and or planner. Can we even pass this if it doesn't follow our development plan? Do we have the ability to do that?
It's a good thing that individual is still sitting here now.
Mr. Administrator, Councillor Spicer is asking if we can approve this if it doesn't follow the development.
Like, do we even have that option? Really?
Well, I guess you do as a council, but then it could get turned down higher up, right?
It can be turned down above you. I should read you Manitoba Agricultural's comments to maybe help you make your decision. I have reviewed the proposed subdivision on behalf of Manitoba Agriculture. Subdivision involves 2 titles within the designated resource and agriculture on the RSA commence. One title is approximately 60 acres inside and includes a farmstead site and cultivated land. The other title is approximately 16 acres and contains 6.89 acres of treed area with the remainder being cultivated. This proposal includes a subdivision of the existing farmstead site, reconfiguration of the boundaries of the 2 titles and consolidation to result in all of the cultivated land being on the residual lot. The proposal appears to be generally consistent with the intent of the policies under section 4.1, policy 4.1.14 of the RPD development plan. We do encourage consolidation of the residual holdings with the adjacent roll number so that new titles are created, so that no new titles are created.
Comment?
Go ahead, Rob.
I have no reason why Lot 2 can't be approved based on what agriculture said, and if you look at the bushed area where the existing lot is, where there's a residence, what's the difference? They're doing the same thing next door in Lot 2, just want to put a house there, want to subdivide it.
Yeah, it's like it's never gonna be farmed because of the way it is, you know what I mean? Because there's a lot there. Then you'd have that empty space next to it. Or you could make one big lot, I guess.
I get the rest of it, but that little snippet of Lot 2.
So what you're talking is, this is
Lot 1.
Can you see? Yeah, you can see what. So this here is lot 1,
Yeah.
that little tiny one, and this is lot 2, and that's the residual, all
Yeah.
the rest is residual. So the way that agriculture is identified, if you notice the tree line, they're saying that's never going to be farmed, and if you left it, there were 2 lots already, and what they would prefer is that all this residual becomes 1 lot, so it's farmable. Because the transmission line, even though it's cutting through here, you could farm under it.
Right, but even if we approve Lot 2, they're not going to be building a house down below in the bottom of Lot 2. They're going to be putting the house off the road. They can continue farming it, whoever's farming it.
Well, they're making the lot 2 even smaller, right? It's only, what was the size of lot 2?
300 and
3.6, sorry, lot 2.
Lot 1 was 300 feet, they were both.
6.89 acres.
Okay, so lot 1 here is this. Lot 2 goes all the way down?
No.
No.
Right up to here?
Yeah.
No, up to the half mile,
Yeah, half mile, right there.
right there.
So go ahead and farm the rest of it, but let them subdivide Lot 2 into a usable lot.
Yeah,
And let them
because
farm the rest.
it's all trees or farm yard right now,
Yeah.
but it looks like.
So to me, I approve it, Lot 2.
No,
issues
you know
with it.
what, that lot 2 is only, to the north of the transmission line. Where
Yeah.
we're looking at that half mile, that's part of the residual.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let them farm it. Let them continue doing what he's status quo.
Okay, so.
Okay, so
Go ahead.
proposed lot 1 is right here, right?
Yeah.
Is the dotted line.
Yeah,
Okay, that's all in the treat area. Proposed lot 2 is the other dotted line. And
it's
the
all-
rest is all residual.
And it's
That
all
does
in
the
the tree
proper
area
thing.
too.
You
So
know
that
what?
does a proper thing, is what agriculture said.
We should put it through and see what happens. What do we got to lose, really? It could come back that way, and if not, it
Yeah.
starts to do what we're trying to do anyways.
The applicant isn't saying, if you look up here, Deepak, the applicant isn't saying he wants to develop all of this. He's saying he just wants this square, let the farmer do what he wants here, but I just want to develop this. This, to me, is a moot point.
Well, and the little one above it.
Yeah.
But they know what's gonna happen on the other side. there.
he's
There's
gonna
be
sell,
road
he's
in there.
gonna sell that lot too,
Yeah.
because that's Hackings.
Yeah, he'll sell one,
I don't care what he does
but
with it.
regardless, it's trees. The point
Yeah.
that agriculture was made. If council's going to approve it, I think council should at least identify why they're approving it, contrary to what river planning is saying. As agriculture is identified, that they think the consolidation of the residuals to farmland is appropriate.
I would say in the resolution, council is approving Lot 2 because of the 300.25 feet and 1,004 feet is the only part that's being subdivided. The remaining is being left as farmland. That's it.
Go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
So, process-wise, let's say we approve this, then it goes back to the planning board and they can turn it down if they want.
how vehemently our PD is arguing against this.
And it depends how vehemently the two representatives from this RM talk about this
As to
specific.
the reasoning why they did it.
Yeah.
That's why I'm suggesting provide your reasoning so that it can be at least discussed at the board of Red River Planning.
Okay, so if, it sounds like we're ready to deal with this one, so if we can have the resolution, please.
Debbie's just smiling there, eh?
He says I can almost go home.
Regarding this is the right one, right? 23 of 2994? Am I correct?
No. 2993.
Subdivision application S 23 of 2993, proposal of hacking to subdivide westerly 412.5 feet of legal subdivision 10 and 15 of all legal subdivision 11, section 1113/5 EPM, executive power, excluding power transmission line plan 7292, Winnipeg Land Titles Office, easterly 330 feet, of the westerly 742.5 feet, of the northeast quarter 11-13-5 EPM, excluding right-of-way of power transmission line plan 7292, Winnipeg Land Titles Office, CT 164166/1 and 3164-168/1. And resolve the council approve the subject to the following conditions. Applicant owner submits confirmation writing from the Chief Administrator Office of the municipality that A, taxes and lands subdivided for the current year and any arrears have been paid, development levies and road levies to be paid as per bylaw 14 of 2009, provide a digital copy of the plan of subdivision of the Arm of St. Clements, and submit an engineered drainage plan to indicate positive drainage on the proposed property and to the satisfaction of the Arm of St. Clements and to the conformance of their servicing standards, and to ensure that the proposed property does not drain onto or impede drainage from neighboring properties. 2, applicant owner submits written confirmation to RRPD for Manitoba Hydro that easement agreements has been entered into with Central Gas Manitoba with respect to existing and or future facilities associated with the subdivision, and plan of easement as required by the Real Property Act has been provided, and the registration of this agreement will be included as a condition by the final certificate of approval, and applicant owner obtain variances for undersized lots. Does the council want to add any additional reasoning to this approval?
That the proposed lot is off a main road. That,
The proposed lots,
yeah,
Two of them.
and that they don't reduce the
agricultural portion.
agriculture, the land used for agriculture.
They don't take away from the agricultural portion of this property. They're not hindering any.
You're not gonna bust all those trees down to farm it.
No,
You're
they'll
gonna plant
need to
the
build
trees
the house.
around there. Gonna make a resolution.
Just-
How about this, that this council is approving this proposal as it includes a subdivision of the existing farmstead site, reconfiguration of the boundaries of the two titles, and consolidation to result in all of the cultivated land being on the residual lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I got all that typed.
That's what agricultural said, so I think that's the
I'll
reason.
do that tomorrow. I'll fix
Yeah.
it.
Good, perfect.
Okay, can I have a mover then? Councillor Boulanger, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. Okay, and I think we have one more application that we need to deal with, and that is subdivision file S 232994. And Femi, if you could walk us through that.
Subdivision application S 232994, the address is 84 130 Road 29E. roll number 500, 400. Intent is to subdivide an existing parcel into two proposed lots in the AAT agricultural mineral zone. Our subject site and the surrounding area. This is the subdivision application map as submitted by the applicants. And this is the table that shows what the applicant is asking for. The lot is on AAT, and in the AAT zone, the minimum lot area is 8 acres, and the minimum lot width is 300. For proposed lot 1, the applicant is proposing 25.42 acres, and lot width of 1,1896.64 feet. For the residual lot, the applicant is proposing 83.07 acres, and a lot width of 612.96 feet. RRPD analysis, the subject proposal is consistent with policy 4.1.14. We state that only one lot is being proposed from and is being allowed from an AAT lot, and the residual lot will continue to be used as a farmland. The proposal also aligns with sub-policies 4.115.2, 4.115.3, 4.115.4, and 4.115.6 of the RRPD development plan. While Manitoba Agriculture expressed some concern about the size of the proposed lot 1, it also note that the soil proposal meets the general intent of the development plan in this instance. Other comments in the agency noted no concerns. RRPD is recommending just 2 conditions as by recommending approval. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
So we take this 80 and turn it into 25 acre lots.
Okay, any questions from planning? Go ahead, Councillor Sutherland.
I'm just curious, I keep trying to picture where this is.
Can you pull up the map, please?
Do you want to show?
What's the address again?
On the thumb, yeah, and show.
What's the address?
Roll number, and the
Sorry.
Roll numbers, right?
500, 400.
500, 400, yeah.
Should be on Road 80.
I think you can go to the side.
84 or 29, I'm trying to picture this.
500, 400, right?
Yeah,
84, 29.
Yeah, 85 and 2 Mile Road.
Split out basically the tree there.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I was,
Were you a mile out?
I know now, yeah. It didn't matter anyway, I was just wondering. When I was reading that at home, I couldn't, okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, if we're ready to deal with it, I'll ask Deepak to please read the resolution.
Subdivision application, regarding subdivision application S23-2994, proposal of SEPTA to subdivide northerly 1790 square feet, perp of flat northeast quarter, section 2-15-5-BF, according to plan 25-1 land items office. Resolved that the council approve the said application subject to the following conditions. Applicant owner submits confirmation in writing to the chief administrative officer of the municipality that A, taxes on the land to be subdivided for the current year and any arrears that are paid, development levies and road levies to be paid as per bylaw 14/2009, and provide a digital copy of the plan of subdivision beyond the same comments. And 2, the applicant owner will obtain variances for an undersized lot from the Red River Planning District.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Horvis, second Councillor Strang. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried.
Can I ask why this didn't come forward with a variance at the same time?
Is the other ones like that too?
Yes.
They can be.
Yeah, that was absolute.
Okay.
Actually, I think the one before this was too. It has a variation.
Yeah, we didn't do that because we recommended a rejection.
Oh, rejection, okay.
Yeah, but this one kind of slipped on that.
Slipped?
This one slipped in.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
The one that's been adjourned until April 11, what time is it?
We could do it at 1 o'clock, I guess, eh? Or do you want to do it first thing in the morning?
Could do it, whatever, what's a good time? I'm gonna be chairing the meeting, so we'll have all day.
Okay, anytime you want.
6:30 in the morning.
Not quite that early, how about
We
if
can-
we make it for
First
10
thing?
or 10?
10.
10, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Debbie. Do you want to give that to Kayla? And I believe that is all that we have for planning,
Yes.
and I'm not sure
So
that
probably
we have
go to-
any other business, but I think we have a few items to discuss in canvas still.
Yeah, so Heather will only do one camera and I'll do the other camera. So, resolve council recess the regular meeting to go in camera to discuss legal and personnel issues, and further be resolved that all matters discussed will remain confidential as per section 83(1)(b) of the municipal act.
Can I have a mover, please, Councilor Strang, second Councilor Councilor Owens, any discussion? Hearing and seeing none,